So, the all-time classic Italian-American crime family saga, The Godfather, perhaps the greatest film ever made, celebrates its 50th anniversary this year. A film so iconic, so ingrained in pop culture that even someone as far as removed from the film as possible will recognize lines, characters, or scenes which may have been recreated, spoofed, or parodied. The film has an incredible history, with so many great stories surrounding the build-up to its release. In fact, a TV show called The Offer is being released soon, which will depict the making of the film. It's crazy to think that director Francis Ford Coppola didn't even want to direct the film, as he felt the directing gig went against his principles, and he only did so because his production company was in debt, as I discussed in great detail in a previous video. In a classic case of life imitating art, seeing as though the film deals heavily with the mob, and even includes a scene where a film producer is threatened with union trouble, the filmmakers of The Godfather themselves were approached by the mob and threatened with union trouble and forced to make changes to the script. The mob went from almost shutting down production to actually helping getting the film made, and the result of the crazy making of The Godfather is a film for all of the ages, one that has stood the test of time and will continue to do so. This year, a 4K restoration of the entire trilogy, supervised by Coppola, is being released, and in addition to this, the movie did limited rounds in cinema again, and I was able to catch it on the big screen for the first time in my life. I'm not actually sure if the version on the big screen is in 4K. I was trying to find out, but the cinema didn't have any details aside from saying the movie is a re-release. I wonder if the 4K is only for the Blu-ray. I suppose it depends on the cinema. I'm sure it definitely was a touched up version, because whether it was 4K or not, the film looked absolutely stunning. And after I saw the film, I went and watched the 4K trailer on YouTube, and the film looked better in cinema. It was clear, crisp, vivid, but at the same time, the sin of messing around with the colour was not done, as the colours weren't overly muted or saturated, and the movie retained its famous shadows and darkness. In fact, I would say they were even more pronounced in the film. It still looks as gritty and seedy as ever. The film has stunning cinematography anyway, but seeing The Godfather on the big screen is truly a different experience from watching it at home. People were rustling their popcorn and talking before the film started showing, but as soon as you heard the everyone went deadly quiet, and then we get Bonacera's speech, the zoom out, Brando's indifferent reaction, and we all go from there. The visuals weren't the only thing worked on. The sound was really good. The organ noise in the film's climax was immense. The background cars beeping and mundane noises of people shuffling around were pronounced. And there's bits of dialogue that you pick up on that you previously couldn't hear, which is such a breath of fresh air, seeing as though it's hard to hear what people are saying in films these days in cinema. But the dialogue was so clear in this film. You know, it's funny. I like to think I know this movie like the back of my hand, and in some regard I do. But when you've seen and re-seen so many classic iconic scenes, you end up forgetting these smaller little scenes in between all the big ones. Like say, during the wedding, Don Corleone talks to the Undertaker, the baker, Luca Brasi, he steps outside for pictures, and later he talks to Johnny Fontaine. I completely forgot that there was a scene where Vito and Fontaine hug and walk back inside together, or the part where Vito gets giddy that Johnny has arrived, or that Vito was staring at Michael through the blinds. I honestly thought this was some kind of extended edition being shown until I went home and checked my copy of the film and thought, oh, those scenes were in the film the whole time. For a film as iconic as it is and as spoofed as it has been, it really is a testament to the craft behind it, that even now it's able to hold you, pull you in and immerse you in its drama. It feels like such a simple film. Obviously it isn't, there's a lot of work gone into it, but walking out of the theatre I was thinking, good acting, solid script, well shot, nice music, what more could you ask for? Why can't more films be like this? But going back to the immersion, there were only a few moments where I was taken out of the film, like the ending where Michael says to Kay she can ask him about his business this one time. I almost started giggling because I suddenly had sinister visions of Sylvia from The Sopranos going, "You fucking schifosa!" Watching the film on the big screen and already being so familiar with it, some of the time I wasn't even paying attention to what was happening in the foreground, and I allowed my line of sight to travel to the background. And as this screen is so much bigger and the film is being shown in such high quality, you notice more things, like the Statue of Liberty being in the background when Paulie is whacked, or when Fontaine is singing at the wedding, Carlo has his arm around the back of Carmela and she's holding his hand behind her back. It looks really sweet, and it's kind of sad when you think just how abusive Carmela's son-in-law ends up being. Another example would be when Michael is saying goodbye to Tom before Sollozzo's hit. Tessio offers a small, sad smile when the brothers hug. You notice these little details, and it brings me to a point that everyone in this movie, everyone is always acting. It's incredible. You can point out to so many examples in so many films. The massive brawl at the end of The Dark Knight Rises, for example, where if you look in the background, you see loads of weird stuff, people punching the air, maybe someone glancing at the camera, that kind of stuff. But there's none of that here. Everyone is acting, everyone's in character. You can spot Clemenza in the wedding scene sitting down and enjoying the singing, Nazarene the baker proudly showing everyone his cake. It's absolutely brilliant, and the high quality video footage makes the nuance and subtlety in the acting of the principal cast even more pronounced. Brando in particular is absolutely incredible in the film, the things he does with his face or his body movements, and Pacino, Khan and Duvall aren't far behind. One thing I noticed is that you hear this film before you see it. It isn't just the trumpets in the beginning. So many scenes fade into play, and before they do so, the background noise, whether it be cars around New York or whatever, come into play before the images appear, the film having cleverly sucked you in with the audio milliseconds before the visuals kick in. I'm not going to review the film itself, I'm sure both you and I have already seen it, and plus I don't think I quite possess the skills to even do justice to the film with a review, but seeing it on the big screen was definitely an experience. I really enjoyed it, and I was looking forward to seeing the second film in cinemas also. I was scheduled to watch it straight after I saw The Batman, but unfortunately, the theatre were having trouble with their screen and the screening was cancelled. Shame. Out of all 3 films that I watched this weekend, The Godfather 2 is actually the one I wanted to watch the most. I think I've only ever seen it once in its entirety, and after the experience of seeing the first on the big screen, it was an unfortunate disappointment not to be able to catch the third. Thanks for watching.